While Washington was captivated by the Kavanaugh hearings this week, in New York, a different drama was unfolding at the annual United Nations General Assembly. We spoke with Iranian Foreign Minister Javad Zarif about how relations between the U.S. and Iran have gone from bad to worse since President Trump quit the Iran nuclear deal. When Margaret Brennan spoke to Zarif earlier this year before that happened, he had suggested that if Mr. Trump were to pull out, Iran might resume their nuclear program.
That's still a possibility.
But it hasn't happened yet?
It hasn't happened yet because Europeans have been working with us in order to make sure that Iran enjoys the economic dividends of the nuclear agreement. And we will be working with the Europeans. We've made good progress.
But let me just make sure, after President Trump left the JCPOA, Iran did nothing additional with respect to building a nuclear program?
We didn't.
The U.S. is threatening those European countries and saying if you continue to do business with Iran, you won't be able to do business with the United States. Can they sustain a relationship with Iran under that kind of pressure from the United States?
The United States is asking countries to violate international law and is telling countries and companies that if they observe the law, they'll be punished. This is probably unprecedented, even for a bully in a town to go to the sheriff's office and tell them if you try not to rob people, you're going to be punished.
You think President Trump is a bully?
Well, I think the behavior is one. The problem is the United States is pushing people to act in a lawless way. I don't think it's going to be sustainable. This policy is going to have a backlash. The international community is not going to accept somebody to come and just orders them. We will continue to work with the Europeans. Certainly some European companies have withdrawn from Iran because of the fear of punishment by the United States.
What faith did they give you that they're going to hang with Iran under the pressure? I mean, what did they tell you?
The verbal response has been positive. Now we have to see that in operation. And they are promising us that before the second batch of sanctions go into force, they will have something available to address the problems. We will see.
We'll have a lot more of our interview with the Iranian foreign minister in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back to Face the Nation. We continue our conversation with Iranian Foreign Minister Javad Zarif about the deteriorating relationship between the United States and Iran.
Today he says he wants to talk to President Rouhani. Tomorrow he says President Rouhani is a corrupt dictator. The third day he says he's a lovely man. Then he says we have asked to talk and he's not prepared to talk. So let's be serious.
Well, but you know, you've seen what happened with North Korea. He said a number of very bombastic things, and now there is talks, and there's, you know.
But there is no outcome. There's some photo opportunities.
Is there any chance that Rouhani and President Trump?
No, until he decides. First of all, President Trump has not decided whether he wants to meet, not meet, dictator, lovely man, whichever it is. But until the United States shows that it's a respectable, trustworthy partner in negotiations. Negotiations are not based on trust. Negotiations are based on respect, based on an expectation that the other side will comply with its decisions that it's undertaken under the negotiation.
What do you make of Secretary of State Mike Pompeo?
What should I make of it? He's made all the wrong moves against Iran, and I believe he has made major mistakes about our region. I believe, seriously, I believe the United States needs to review its policy with regard to our region.
President Trump targeted Iran repeatedly in his remarks to the UN General Assembly.
I think it's not a sign of strength. He's making all those statements. He convened the meeting of the Security Council to bash Iran. And at the end of the day, 14 out of 15 members of the Security Council bashed his decision to walk away from JCPOA. So unfortunately, the United States has managed to isolate itself in the world.
President Rouhani said that President Trump has tendencies resembling a Nazi disposition. What does that mean?
Well, I mean, the xenophobic tendencies that he has exhibited, the wall, the Muslim ban on Iranians traveling to the United States, all of these are reminiscent of the type of mentality.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, as you know, responded quite forcefully to that in an interview with Norah O'Donnell.
He's always forceful, but forceful does not mean logical.
He said, for a Holocaust-denying country that is threatening Israel, to compare the United States or its leader to Nazis is among the most outrageous things I have ever heard.
As I said, being forceful is not being logical. Iran has stated very clearly that we reject the killing of innocent people, no matter what numbers, no matter by who.
You're talking about the Holocaust now.
Of course.
Yes, and the Holocaust happened and 6 million Jews died.
Of course it did, and a huge number of people died. A huge number of innocent people died. But it does not justify depriving others of their homeland. It does not justify building settlements in the territory of other people. It does not justify violating en masse the rights of Palestinians. The Holocaust cannot be used as a justification for an apartheid policy in Palestine.
You have talked about mutual respect if there's ever going to be conversations with the United States and Iran again. When President Rouhani says that President Trump has the tendencies of the Nazis who are responsible for killing so many innocent Jews, how can you have mutual respect?
But I mean, if you just put the insults that President Trump has had against Iran, whatever President Rouhani says cannot even get close to what he has done with us. Even in his speech to the General Assembly.
Even when he compares him to the organization that killed 6 million Jews, innocent Jews.
Well, he's the man who separated children from their mothers.
But it was not the incineration of 6 million people because of their religion.
And he didn't call him such. He said these are behavior exhibiting the same type of approach.
In America, we would call that weasel words. He's using the word Nazi.
Well, it's a mentality that we believe needs to be averted, because it's a mentality, it's an approach. You see, Iranians went out in large numbers on September 11th, 2001, holding a candlelight to mourn the death of Americans. The same Iranians cannot come here to the United States to see their kids and grandkids. We have received negative response from the United States government. The current government unreasonably destroyed an agreement that had been worked on for so many years. So I think we are the ones who should be complaining. President Trump, in his televised statements, has insulted Iranians. He called the entire Iranian people a terrorist nation. He called us an outlaw nation. We don't take that lightly.
All right, Mr. Foreign Minister, thank you so much.
Good to be with you.